Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Yeshi Chonsa. Here are the top stories we are tracking for you on Tuesday, the 17th of November. Delhi Chief Minister Kejriwal seeks to shut markets emerging as COVID hotspots in Indian capital. Trump administration to cut troops levels in Afghanistan, reports suggest. And Sri Lanka unveils crucial annual budget amid pandemic. And now for all the details. Daily coronavirus infections in India fell to their lowest since mid-July, with 29,163 new cases reported for the last 24 hours, taking total to 8.87 million on Tuesday. However, as cases of coronavirus are rising in the national capital, Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal has sought power from the centre to impose lockdown in those market areas which may emerge as COVID-19 hotspots and decided to withdraw an order allowing 200 guests to attend wedding function.
Daily coronavirus infections in India fell to their lowest since mid-July, with 29,163 new cases reported for the last 24 hours, taking the total to 8.87 million. The number of active cases currently stands at 453,401, about 5.11% of all cumulative count. Daily cases have fallen in India since hitting a peak in September. However, as cases of coronavirus are rising in the national capital, the Delhi government has sent a proposal to the centre that if needed, markets flouting safety protocols and emerging as COVID-19 hotspots be closed for a few days, Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal said on Tuesday. The state is also looking at reducing the number of people allowed for weddings back to 50.
एक जनरल प्रस्ताव केंद्र सरकार की अप्रूवल के लिए भेजा जा रहा है कि अगर कहीं पे अब दिवाली ख़त्म हो गई है, हम उम्मीद करते हैं कि बाज़ारों के अंदर जो इतनी ज़्यादा भीड़ थी वो भीड़ कम हो जाएगी और हमें ज़रूरत नहीं पड़ेगी। लेकिन अगर ज़रूरत पड़े और सारी कोशिशों के बावजूद भी अगर किसी बाज़ार में हम देखते हैं कि सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग और मास्क का पालन नहीं किया जा रहा और वो एरिया एक तरह से लोकल कोरोना हॉटस्पॉट बन सकता है, तो उस वहाँ पे बाज़ार को कुछ दिनों के लिए एहतियात के तौर पे बंद करने की इजाज़त दिल्ली सरकार को दी जाए।
Meanwhile, after months of closure due to coronavirus-induced lockdown, colleges across Karnataka state reopened on Tuesday, following all COVID-19 health protocols. Every student has been asked to undergo an RT-PCR test and they will be allowed to join the varsity only if they tested negative for the infection. St. Joseph College has begun conducting examinations and students are coming back from their homes to appear for the same.
Light rain and favorable wind speed have made slight improvement in pollution levels of India's capital New Delhi and its neighbouring areas. Most of the region's air quality index was recorded in the poor category on Tuesday, after surpassing even the severe levels in the past few weeks.
Air quality in India's Delhi NCR or National Capital Region showed slight improvement on Tuesday, 2 days after the Festival of Lights, Diwali. According to the Central Pollution Control Board, the pollution decreased due to the rainfall on Sunday and a favourable wind speed. Most parts of the region recorded moderate category of the air pollution index. Some of the areas were still recorded in poor category.
बीच में परेशानी काफ़ी रही दिवाली से पहले, मगर दिवाली वाले दिन बारिश आने से गोवर्धन को तो बहुत बढ़िया मौसम हो गया, पहले से बहुत अच्छा है।
Delhi had recorded the worst pollution levels on Diwali in the last 4 years due to the combined effect of stubble burning in its neighbouring states, firecrackers on the festival and unfavourable meteorological conditions. Tuesday's pollution levels are a drastic improvement from previous weeks, which indicated severe conditions that posed a risk of respiratory problems.
India at the 75th session of the United Nations General Assembly said that today the Security Council has become an impaired organ as it is unable to act with credibility, essentially due to its unrepresentative nature. India also slammed China for stalling UN reforms by not allowing the Intergovernmental Negotiations process to have basic rules of procedure and records. The United Nations Security Council has become an impaired organ due to its inability to act with credibility, said India at the 75th session of the UN General Assembly on Monday. While speaking at the UN General Assembly, T.S. Tirumurti, India's permanent representative to the UN, also highlighted that the IGN, Intergovernmental Negotiations, has become like a platform for debate in the university rather than a serious result-oriented process in the UN consisting of sovereign member states.
Mr. President, today's Security Council is an impaired organ. It has been unable to act with credibility, essentially due to its unrepresentative nature. But then, what is happening inside the IGN process, which we seem to be wedded to? Inside the IGN, nothing has moved for more than a decade, except hearing passionate statements on the need for reform.
Tirumurti also slammed China for stalling UN reforms by not allowing the Intergovernmental Negotiations process to have basic rules of procedure and records. IGN was formed more than a decade ago, with India many times calling for the application of the General Assembly Rules of Procedures on it so that records can be kept and the process can be open, inclusive and transparent. China, a member of UNSC, has been halting any attempts for application of the rules and moved to a single text-based negotiation. In news from Pakistan, Pakistan Democratic Movement, an opposition alliance against Prime Minister Imran Khan's government, has said it will go ahead with a mega rally on Peshawar on November 22nd, defying the government's ban on public gatherings amid the rising number of COVID-19 cases. The government decision also came amid growing protests by the opposition over the election results in the illegally occupied region of Gilgit Baltistan.
Pakistan Democratic Movement, or PDM, an opposition alliance of the country's 11 major political parties against PM Imran Khan's government, will go ahead with a mega rally in Peshawar on November 22, defying the government's ban on public political rallies, citing the COVID-19 pandemic, according to local media reports. Prime Minister Imran Khan announced the ban against political rallies and all gatherings of over 300 people on Monday, after the country recorded its highest daily coronavirus infections since July for 4 days running. The country reported 361,082 coronavirus cases and 7,193 deaths as of Tuesday. Authorities have expressed fears that hospitals will soon be overwhelmed, as they were in June, if people do not act responsibly.
हमने सारे मुल्क में जलसे ख़त्म कर दिए, अपना भी ख़त्म कर दिया और हम सबको भी कहेंगे, क्योंकि वो एक ऐसी जगह जिधर सबसे तेज़ी से फैलती है वायरस.
The decision also comes amid the growing protests over the election results in the illegally occupied region of Gilgit Baltistan, in which opposition parties have blamed Imran Khan's Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf party of rigging. Khan said that the authorities in Gilgit Baltistan told that the coronavirus had spread significantly after the election campaigns.
More on news from Pakistan. A Pakistani Islamist group called off protest over cartoons of Prophet Mohammad on Tuesday, saying the government had agreed to their demand for a boycott of French products. The group's spokesman said thousands of Islamists had clashed with police on the edge of the capital, Islamabad, on Monday in protest over the recent display of cartoons of the Prophet in France. Thousands of supporters of the Tehreek-e-Labaik Pakistan party clashed with police on the main road into Pakistan's capital Islamabad on Monday, following protest over the recent use of cartoons of the Prophet Mohammad in France, and several people were injured. The protesters that has made blasphemy its rallying cry are demanding that the government severs diplomatic ties with France and expels its ambassador, police and party officials said. nearly 2,000 protesters had camped at the main entrance to the city, refusing to leave. The Islamist group called off protests on Tuesday, saying the government had agreed to their demand for a boycott of French products. Protests broke out in several Muslim countries over France's response to a deadly attack last month on a teacher who showed cartoons mocking the Prophet Mohammad to pupils during a civics lesson. For Muslims, depictions of the Prophet are blasphemous. French officials said the beheading was an assault on the core French value of freedom of expression. US President Donald Trump might settle for a partial reduction of troops in Afghanistan before leaving office in January, according to reports. Trump had last month said that he wanted all 4,500 US troops in Afghanistan home by Christmas, but top officials advised against such a precipitous withdrawal amid troubling levels of violence by the Taliban.
US President Donald Trump's new Pentagon team has not yet signaled an imminent withdrawal of all US troops from Afghanistan, raising expectations among US officials and allies that Trump might settle for a partial reduction before leaving office, according to reports. Officials have said the military was expecting formal orders in the coming days to go down to about 2,500 troops in Afghanistan by early next year, from around 4,500 currently, as Trump leaves office on January 20. Trump had last month said that he wanted all 4,500 US troops in Afghanistan home by Christmas, but top military and national security aides advised against such precipitous withdrawal amid troubling levels of violence by Taliban insurgents and persistent Taliban links to Al-Qaeda. Meanwhile, the Taliban, fighting against the US-backed government in Kabul, have called on the United States to stick to a February 2020 agreement with the Trump administration to withdraw US troops by May 2021, subject to certain security guarantees.
Moving on to news from Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka's Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa, who also serves as the Finance Minister, unveiled the annual budget for the year 2021 in the Parliament on Tuesday amid the coronavirus pandemic. The final vote on the budget is scheduled to be held on December 10.
Sri Lanka's Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa, who also serves as the Minister of Finance, on Tuesday unveiled the annual budget for the year 2021 in the Parliament amid weak state revenues from a 2019 tax cut and the devastating COVID-19 pandemic. Rajapaksa said the island nation aims to cut its fiscal deficit to 4% over the medium term from 9% currently. He said he had a medium-term inflation target of 5% and medium-term growth target of 6%, while the country aims to cut its debt-to-GDP ratio to 70% from currently 90% over the medium term. The budget comes a year after President Gotabaya Rajapaksa rose to power, promising his voters development and prosperity, and assumed significance amid the pandemic. The final vote on the budget is scheduled on December 10. Sri Lanka's foreign reserves are under enormous strain in the wake of mounting external debt. The government recently repaid $4.2 billion for this year, while its export and tourism sectors and worker remittances from abroad have been severely impacted.
Well, that's all we have for you from South Asia this evening. Now our viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/AsAsiaNewsline and follow us on Twitter @AsAsiaNewsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We will see you same time tomorrow. Good night.